Hello everyone. Beautiful existence here on an absolutely serene fall day in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains. And today we are going to go into the realms of supernatural beings, fairies, sprites, dragons, unicorns, a plethora of legendary creatures, and what have many omens around through different cultures and histories. So as we enter this forest here, we'll talk about some of those supernatural beings and some practices that are often recommended to be in the kind spirits and good omens of these supernatural beings. So let's get into supernatural being omens in Feyland. I've been going throughout the trails here and immediately was attracted to the energy of this area, since you can see that there's really lush foliage everywhere else around it, but we are literally in a ring of purposeful intention around this beautiful mother tree person. She is just glorious. And you can see by the ground cover that my visioning is that some of this was man-made and intentional, but not all of it, because there are naturally fallen trees that are actually providing a circle around her, and not just her. You can see them on the ground there. They are not chainsawed, they are naturally fallen branches and trees, because this is her family. This is a protected space from the Fae. We are in a sacred spot right now. And when you practice being in union with omens and being able to understand and feel and communicate with tree people, you can spot these anomalies within the forest or within the environment around you. And this is the grandmother. Very powerful matriarch. Very powerful. Beautiful family surrounding this sacred space. So we are going to talk about supernatural beings under the tutelage and guidance of this beautiful, majestic tree person family. And as you can see over there in the distance, there's a fairy spot underneath that mossy, beautiful arch. And I will not approach it, and they specifically have asked not to approach it, but we will be leaving an offering at the end of this video in honor of being able to see and be amongst and be taught and guided and be within this very sacred space right now within the forest. Okay, with the Fae in the background, I am asking if it's okay to record, and they said yes, because I'm being respectful. So thank you. I really appreciate it, and you want to definitely stay on good terms with Fae, because their queen kingdom is incredibly vast on the earth, and they are incredibly powerful and magical beings, supernatural beings. That's why we're here today. All of my notes, and this is just a short snippet of what is going to be in my upcoming book, which is available on pre-sale on Amazon right now, titled As the Universe, So the Soul, Everyday Omens and What They Mean. And because the amount of omens that are written into history, that are the poetics of history, literally, this is probably going to be the first edition, the first volume. And I am already being given specific vision to start holding workshops and sessions, omen sessions. So if you are in the Seattle area, at least right now, and probably opening up, sorry, it's cold, it's opening up to other areas, or you would like to bring me into a workshop, a weekend or a week retreat, to be able to help guide on the practice of omens, and being able to open up to them to expand your astrology knowledge, your tarot divination knowledge, even your alternative abilities. I would be happy to talk to you. Please email cannabistarot@gmail.com. Everything having to do with omens, having to do with all of the other alternative abilities and omnidimensional authors is now being housed at cannabistarot.com. So that brilliant, beautiful sun peeking in there. So with the mother tree and the fairy spot behind us, let's get into supernatural being omens. So if you look up online, there are a lot of things about omens that are interwoven in other nomenclatures. They call it signs, they call it synchronicities, they call it superstitions. It's often under categories of lore, and it is extensive. But there was a lot of work done in the 1800s, specifically because of science coming into this celestial mechanism. Many mechanisms were at play in the 1800s, and the Psychical Society came about during that time. And so there were a lot of what we might call paranormal, parapsychology themes and scholarly information being brought back into the modern, quote, modern world from indigenous and rare societies and civilizations. And during this time, and I will cite many of them that are in the book, come from this 19th century burst of, bringing back ancient wisdoms that we are still immersing ourselves in modern society and integrating within more and more of our daily life. Again, a lot celestially activated. So if you go onto even Wikipedia and you look for under a search term of lore or omens or supernatural beings, you will find extensive lists that are also under similar nomenclature like legendary creatures. And so if you look under legendary creatures on Wikipedia, there is an exhaustive list of over 400 legendary creatures throughout time, throughout civilizations, fictional, non-fictional, there's so many different categorizations of these, and extensive linking to even more references beyond just the initial, mention of them, done by elements, done by countries, over 400 on that, Wikipedia search alone. So within the upcoming book, some of them that you can look forward to that I have captured by these various publications that I'm about to cite in this video are in my upcoming book, this first volume, As the Universe, So the Soul, Everyday Omens and What They Mean, so that you can not only recall and remember this ancient wisdom, wisdoms that have been being published, at least on a scholarly level, for over 150 years or so. A couple hundred years, this information has been being brought back into, collective understanding, but often under still very secretive guises. Not everybody has had access or knows how to access scholarly information. And that's why I'm the academic oracle. I'm bringing back and uncovering the veil of a lot of what has already been out there and that some people have been able to recall and bring back in throughout the world and throughout, history and civilizations. But that not everybody has had access, let alone guidebooks or instructions of, how to be able to start opening up to remembering these wisdoms. So let's get into supernatural being omens from the book. Since we are in fairyland, and since I have already brought up the fact that they are a very, very powerful being and they are everywhere in the world in one way, shape, or form, the Fae are extensive within our world. It's important to highlight some of the highs and lows for your awareness always of how to not only understand their omens, but start seeing and interacting in a very respectful, a very honorful way, because they have been practicing and remembering and holding magics that humans have lost for millions of years. And they're very, very intelligent and very particular. Let's just say they're very particular. So one of the things is the disappearance of people into fairy realms usually happens through fairy dances, in which you will lose a sense of time when you're in a fairy dance or within a space. And this is followed through with ecstatic dancing, with dancing that evokes premonitions and visioning, definitely altered time and astral aspects within it. And there's a particular hawk's nest incident that is an omen that states that people whom return to the natural world from the fairy realm, it usually leads to their lives having some pretty difficult circumstances afterwards. And this comes from the book Cambrian Superstitions, Witchcraft, Omen, and Ghosts, which was published in 1831. There are ways to request and work with the Fae energy, with the fairy energy, and we will do that at the end of this video so that we ensure that we have a peaceful transition between respecting and honoring, their realm, which I am clearly in and I'm very heightened and aware of, and that I'm able to actually even video record right now, which I am super grateful for. Like, that is not always the case, for sure. I've had videos disappear that I have specifically taken of notable incidents in Fae areas that I can't even find now, and just have a memory of they have magically disappeared from my hard drive, from my Google Drive, yeah. So anyways, Let's talk about some other omens, and this comes from the origin of the Irish superstitions regarding banshees and fairies, which is from 1895, so about 70 years later. This publication talks a lot about the language around how it originated and what its definitions are within that kingdom or within that queen and kingdom. Oh yeah, I definitely have energy around me right now that I'm becoming even more aware of. So the word banshee in Irish is pronounced bod shaid, and it literally means woman of the fairies. And banshees are described, hello, I have one like right in front of me watching me, and described women who lived in fairylands. And that particular omens have to do with if you hear or see a banshee lamenting in a period of lament, which is sorrow, which is sadness or crying, it indicates the death of a beloved one. One of the other omens from this publication from 1895, The Origin of the Irish Superstitions Regarding Banshees and Fairies, talks about an angry Cailleach, and that an angry Cailleach is an angry old woman, or what sometimes can be called a hag, who can invoke the Siabhra, which is a demonic sprite, and which can strike people or animals with poisonous darts. So from another 19th century publication, which is called Traces of the Elder Faiths, and was published in 1897, one of the fairy omens is if a girl dreams about a fairy, it is a sign that she will soon get married. But the opposite is true, that if a male identifying person or born person sees a fairy in their dream, it's not a good omen, and they should not undertake important matters for many days afterwards, because they will end in disappointment. The lore in this publication also states that fairies can change children in their cradle, and if the baby becomes irritable at common things very abruptly, that this is a sign that a child substitution and a fairy removal should happen. This omen is even written about by the poet Edmund Spenser in his epic poem, The Fairy Queen. Now, moving on to other supernatural beings outside of the Fae realms and some of the supernatural being omens that are in my upcoming book, As the Universe, So the Soul, Everyday Omens and What They Mean, we're going to move on to Asiatic traditions and omens. And this comes from The Social Life of the Chinese, a publication that was produced in 1868. And this has to do with unicorns. So in China, unicorns are a very good omen. And in fact, unicorns are described as animals with one horn that have scales all over their body. And they're known to be highly elusive to human sight. In fact, there has not been mention of any sightings of unicorns for thousands of years, except for one, which was Confucius. And Confucius knew that the sighting of the unicorn was an omen for his eventual death, which happened shortly after. So in China, there's a very common saying that bright male identifying children are sons of unicorns. And in fact, in China, the name for unicorn is actually Cailleach. And it is said to be an omen of the birth or death of an important noble or sage. Other supernatural beings in this particular publication about Chinese omens also talk about the lore of the phoenix, and that phoenixes are seen as an omen of good fortune, and that they only usually appear when there is a good and righteous ruler in power. So from here in the Cascade Mountain range foothills, in a very, very sacred spot with this beautiful mother tree person behind me, and absolutely fairyland in the background. Very, very blessed to be able to record here. Very much honor this space, and thank you for being here and for caring about reconnecting to not only what our ancestors and our ancients and many, many civilizations for tens of thousands of years have written about and recorded and handed down through lore, folklore, stories, epics, word of mouth, so that we could stay in union with all of the different aspects of this world and this universe while we are embodied. Thank you for caring and for being here and for sharing. Please like, share, subscribe. I know that that's a common statement here on YouTube, but it really does help. And for those that are interested in bringing me into a workshop, a retreat, to be able to talk about the cultivation and remembering of omens in your everyday life and how to see, feel, hear, and expand your alternative abilities through omens, I will be starting to open up workshops. I'm also doing interviews to talk about the book and what this brings back to our collective remembering, and what I have been researching for a long time as the academic oracle to bring back these secret and private publications that have been out there and carrying forward omen knowledge and through scholarship for centuries now. So from Fayland, thank you for being here, and let's go do an offering to the Fae. So one of the things that is important to know about Fae is that they love shiny things. And you can maybe see a little bit in the sunlight of the glitter of what we commonly understand as a holiday bauble. But because they have allowed me and us to be within the sacred space of this tree person family, and because, well, there's the bauble, there's the sparkle, woo! And because the whole time I was recording, I was looking at grandmother energy, I am going to honor her and the mother's family in this sacred circle by offering up this very shiny bauble to the Fae. This is a way that you can show your respect. Put it in a very easy spot for them to be able to see, and for the sun to be able to shine its energy on at the foot of the grandmother tree. This is an easier way for you to honor and show respect for being able to go into, communicate with, or receive communications from Fae. Thank you. Thank you for letting us be in this space with you. And thank you for being here, everyone. Much love and much wisdom.